Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. I have an extra special treat for you today. I have Barry Littleton, who's an expert on just about everything space, alien, and all that good stuff. So we have someone here with a big, long, fancy $200 words to explain, hopefully, a lot about what I have been remote viewing, what you guys know about, what we've discovered, and some events that are happening right now. I hope to shed some light on that for you guys. So without further ado, here's Barry. How you doing, Barry?
I'm good. I'm good, Kelly. How are you?
Oh, doing
Thank you
really good.
for such a nice introduction that I'm most unworthy of, but I appreciate it.
Oh, you're so worthy. You're so worthy. And please forgive me, guys, if I look down to see Barry's face and the camera is up here. I'm having issues with my computers, which I've had for a while. They've almost given up the ghost, and it's time to get new computers. And instead of just running to the store and spending $600 for a couple new computers, what I'm finding now, it's going to be $7,000. So I'm doing a
Oh,
30-day manifestation challenge right now. And so I am manifesting some new computers, and we'll see how that goes. So let me get everybody's comments up because I'm sure they're going to have some questions, Barry. and let's go. So, hey, the lights went out in Siberia. Okay, you want to talk about that?
you know,
Lights.
I got to be honest. Of the things that you had suggested, that must have just happened within the last 48 hours. I've not heard a
Yes.
lot about it, so
Mhm.
I'm not real up to that current event. So I
Yeah.
can't speak on it a lot.
And let's
You want to
see.
go over with me what it?
Mr. MBBB333, I know I'm butchering his name. He reported on it. A Naughty Beaver reported on it. So this is within the last 48 hours. And it was between the hours of 11 a.m. and 2 o'clock. And if you want to go check out the videos while we're doing this broadcast, go look and see what happened. Basically, the sun turned off, if you will. It was dark and it had a weird color to it. So the sun, this is kind of like Captain Obvious time at this point, so where we have sun
Captain
simulators.
Obvious.
Captain Obvious.
Oh man.
So Captain Obvious here. so so it became really obvious it was a sun simulator, and the ones that I'm looking at, it kind of matched when I did some remote viewing. If you guys go to my Instagram, let me see who I am on Instagram. I forgot my own name. I think I am Kelly in the Raw. That's who I am. Kelly in the Raw on Instagram. I've got a lot of pictures here of the remote viewing that we did. I remote viewed the event here in Siberia. When I remote viewed it, I saw basically where a section of the sun simulator, or one of the sun simulators, there are multiple ones, that it shut down, or something happened to that one, and all the rest of them were working. So anyway, I've got the pictures of what I remote viewed on here, and I'm seeing super soldiers involved and all kinds of stuff for our future with this. But yeah, this was in a very remote part of Siberia that this happened, and it is right next to the 1908 Tunguska event, where people had a difficult time explaining this. You had basically possibly a meteor, something really huge that could have caused a big catastrophic event on the planet. And it exploded before it hit the ground. And it leveled about 100, or I'm sorry, about 1,000 square miles roughly of land. Didn't kill very many people because hardly anybody lives there. But mysterious plants started to grow in these areas. And when the scientists tested them, basically these were adaptive plants. They called them adaptoid, or adaptoid is like a juice that I drink, but these are adaptogens. These plants adapt to whatever environment that they live in. When you consume them, basically it helps your body to react to stress differently. Where if you have a very low day, that it brings you up energetically. And then if you have anxiety or if things are too high, it brings you back down. It basically normalizes you. So this is I said these plants were sent by God, amongst other plants, right, Barry? Is it from the gods to us? Like here? Because
All
it
the
really,
bear seed, huh? I
yeah,
hear
it,
you.
it really helped me in my life. These plants did. So that's what got me interested in the Tunguska Valley in Siberia in the first place. And then yesterday when I'm remote viewing with my 30-day manifestation challenge. And one of the people in there that were remote viewing, they saw domes. that domes played a part in what just happened with the lights, with the events and everything. So we do a lot of remote viewing on Patreon as well. Oh, and Barry has a Patreon channel. So are you Barry Littleton on Patreon? Is that how you are?
Yes, Barry Littleton on Patreon. I got about 12 videos on there that are a lot longer and more detailed than the ones I put up on YouTube, and starting to do a lot more on Patreon. It's just it's easier to communicate with people there. All those trolls aren't there. You know what I mean? It's just sending you meaningless messages and nasty stuff. So there's not as much of that on Patreon. So that's cool. You know, enjoying that.
Yes, although it's kind of eliminating the ones that are in their parents' basement, just sitting there having a horrible day and wanting to share it with everybody. So that's what you get on. And I find I do the same thing on Patreon, is that you get my heart. Usually my hair's not combed. I don't have any makeup on it, and I'm in my robe. So it's just, you know, waking up with Kelly and we do our thing. But yeah, we get really detailed, and I'm able to do more one-on-one stuff during a broadcast, because already there's like a tremendous number of comments, and it's difficult to keep up with all the comments and answer all of the questions. On Patreon, man, we get in depth with you guys. I've made a few friends on Patreon. This is really cool. Some of the friends on there are just very unique and wonderful, wonderful people. But yeah, that Siberia, what's going on in Siberia? So I went ahead and started to research last night. What are these domes in Siberian? I don't know if you're familiar with the domes or not. They're calling them alien domes. Oh, okay. And then from the little bit that I saw, and you've got a lot more information, obviously, than I do. These are basically structures, they say, built by aliens to protect our planet, and that they will come up out of the ground when there's some kind of attack or a threat to our planet, such as the event in 1908 was such a threat. It was a huge thing coming towards us. That could be an extreme. I mean, it was catastrophic, blown up in the sky, and then it came down. Just imagine what would have happened if it had hit our planet. So basically, the videos showed them popping up out of the ground like this dome, and these lasers that I've seen these lasers before. I've remote viewed the lasers, and I've seen them in videos that some people have shown on YouTube. So where do you want to start? Holy crap, where do you want to start?
Hold on, reverse for a second. Okay, I'm very familiar with the domes and what that was, and kind of the great conspiracy that comes with that also. But what lasers are you talking about? What lasers that are affiliated with these domes?
I've seen, and I don't know if they're affiliated necessarily with the domes, but I have seen video of someone who was videotaping when the space shuttle, it exploded right above my house. And I called my husband. I said, I think Santa Claus landed real hard on the top of our house. I don't know what's going on. It was this boom, just boom, it shook and rattled. So when I saw, and the videos are gone, I can't find them anymore. And they showed basically a type of orb or UFO type object going faster than 22,000 miles an hour. And it's this kind of like a light purplish beam that basically hit it and blew it up. I've also seen those beams in videos that I believe are still on YouTube when we had all the California fires. They were coming from out of the sky, and they were like an energy weapon, and they were targeting just the houses, and they were destroying houses all over California. I remote viewed it, and then we found video of people videotaping these beams coming from the sky and being destructive. So that's what I'm talking about, these beams that I've actually seen video of beams. So when I saw the simulation video, I guess, of what these towers or these domes were doing, they used a beam, I guess, very similar to this.
So basically,
so what's the truth, Barry? What's the truth in all of this?
Basically, can you throw a little bit more doom and gloom on it, brothers? You know,
right. But we do have a happy ending. Yes, happy ending to come. Don't worry.
Plenty of doom scenarios there.
You get aliens with a happy ending.
I'll tell you, concerning those domes and the unusual plants that grow around them, I think that it's more imperative to think that what we're looking at is a nuclear fallout. And those domes, to me, look an awful lot like what is now called the ARC company that do the underground domes, the underground tubes that are like cities and houses underground at some type of a fallout. some type of a nuclear fallout. That's been around for a while. It's on the internet, ARC. But I mean, I think what we're seeing as far as those tubes to me look quite a bit like fallout shelters to me. Now, whether or not they're from the past is a good question. You know what I mean? But concerning when you said the lasers, now I see what you're saying. Take that to also another level. I think that there's also beings here, as I understand, they look human also, that are helping us, that they're humans that were raised from Earth, that they're raised off planet. I think maybe out of the galaxy. I don't know, but I know they're here and they're helping. And sometimes you can see them using their technology to help. Like when, I'll give you an example, when that meteor hit Russia, probably about 6 years ago, and it came in, and when it comes in, you see something else hit it. And they're trying to say, oh, another meteor hit it as it's coming in.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
Yeah, when they use that technology, these humans, they use this technology to help us. It has a cloak of plasma technology. So it looks like a plasma ball or something doing something, and it can also look like a ship. But we're dealing with holographic technology quite a bit. We have to acknowledge that, you know. But that's kind of what I'm getting, you know, when you say that the laser's coming down. But if you take that and turn it a little bit to maybe how some are helping us, because I've talked for a long time about what I believe is the space war that's going on here. And when I say that, it's with the organisms. You know, sometime they did a thing, the College of Berkeley and some other places did a thing called Stardust at Home, Project Stardust at Home, where they sent up that satellite and collected a bunch of stardust in the Cologian buckets and set it back down to Earth. If you get on that website, you can actually, used to be able to identify a track in that Cologian bucket with that electron microscope. And if you get a new dust track, they'll name it after you. So that's Project Stardust at Home. But nonetheless, okay, if you're talking about that and talking about mining other asteroids and things, that is war. If you're dealing with microorganisms that are aware on the collective conscious level,
okay,
and you just come down, like you come down here, you just snatch a couple million people out of Australia and then take off with them. You're gonna have problems. That's a war.
Yeah, I would say so.
And a lot of these organisms start coming in here on meteors, okay? And when they start interacting, there's certain things start popping up that I say that will kind of back this up. Look at some of these odd things that have popped up that are actually, I think, a result of these meteor and these hostile organisms. You've got the red rain. You've got mad deer disease. There was mad cow disease that just kind of went away. But then mad deer, look at what those are, what the prions are, and how that actually attacks the system, the body. That's very, very interesting. The red rain is another one. These are things that come up and then kind of just went away and we don't talk about a lot. But nonetheless, it's very valid, you know. But I see that there's others helping us. Like something's impacted that meteor in Russia to, I think, split it up to maybe stop some of those organisms from getting here to the planet. You know, there's others too. Like,
and that's why I wanted you on here, is you've got such a positive spin to everything, and I don't want to scare anybody with all of this. We need to kind of feel like everything's going to be okay. Now, ultimately, I know everything's going to be okay, but these details, these matrix details.
Let me ask you: is this a prison planet where you've got souls that reincarnate, devoid of soul life memories again and again? Some that are very criminogenic, some that are angelic, but you got a lot of the criminogenic factor that incarnates here. They're destroying the biosphere we live on. Okay, and then on top of that, if you can see, I know you can see, many can see, if you can see spiritually, you don't even need to be able to see. You can watch something like the television show, The Dead Files. Watch that and see all the different type of beings that are down here trying to assault people while they're sleeping, while they're, with sexual practices, sexual connotations, trying to take people over, trying to trap souls when people die, prevent them from crossing over to the other frequency. And they're just allowed to roam around down here on the fourth and fifth dimensions. Or I'm sorry, the third and fourth dimensions. All right, or whatever you want to call that, if we understand dimensions. But I'm just saying, what in the hell, HE double hotkey sticks, is this place? Is this a prison planet where that's going on? Those type of souls are down here, and we keep thinking, oh, we were on a mission. Oh, things are gonna get better. Oh, the light's gonna take over. When the truth is, it's getting worse and worse here. Everybody knows it. But sorry, let's go back to the positive spin you wanted. Back to the solar simulator, right?
Yeah, let's put a positive spin on it. Let's talk about the fake sun in the sky and what's happened to our sun. Well, the sky's falling. The sky is falling.
But anyway. So sorry to go too far left on the other thing, but did that kind of address what you were saying about maybe the domes and kind of that part of it? And we can go into the sun and what I think about the sun next year, if you want to.
Oh yeah, I think we'll be talking about the sun for quite a while. I watched one of your videos, and it is just so full of wonderful information, and I hope you're able to share all of it. I think we have plenty of time, so we'll share all of that so everybody can hear. Yeah, keep dripping that wealth of knowledge off your lips. In our direction.
Are you referring to the binary star video?
Yes, I saw that one of yours. Okay. Yeah, the binary star system, and I've heard other people talk about it as well. And however you look at this, when I was looking at it in like a remote viewing kind of way, I see it differently than what they're saying. I don't necessarily see, two suns doing this, but I do see us as more stationary than the other thing when I remote view. And there is something that this is the short version of it. This is the Reader's Digest version. When it's far away, we have our dark ages where we're very, very asleep, don't know a whole lot about what's going on. And then the closer it gets to us, we have more of the golden age. And you've got all your in between. So this is what I feel like we're already in. About 2012 is when this was getting close enough that we're greatly affected. And it looks like we're going to be in this. It's just going to keep getting better and better and better for quite a while. I don't know if you want to call this a transition period. But yeah, this is what I've been sensing and not knowing how to put into words. And I know you have all the big fancy words to describe this, but there is something so close to us. And also people are photographing beyond these, filters or, barriers trying to hide things. There's a lot of objects in the sky right now that appear, I'm not saying they are bigger than our sun, but I'm saying in appearance wise, when you look up, the sun's this big and these are like this big up in the sky. Lots of stuff going on right now.
I would agree with that. And I think that this change that we're going through it's a shift in consciousness. People's consciousness is really raising. The fact that anyone has ever listened, I'm the one person that's occasionally people are listening to. I've been to a couple of conferences now that I never thought anybody, when I first spoke out, I thought it was safe that no one would even listen to me, to be quite honest with you, because I can't prove anything. You know what I mean? But it's just consciousness is increasing, and I think that has a lot to do with what's going on with the sun as well. Now, I'll take this and tie this in to my personal experiences, and I like science. So I don't always go so far into conspiracy as I do science and personal experiences. I'm trying to always make a baseline for at least some type of reality, because heck, this whole thing is just crazy. You think it is. But anyway, my experiences, I don't have my sketches with me, but the first being that came forward to me when I was a child, and I was on this ship and I'm asking him where he's from. This Xandar was his name's Insectoid. And he starts telling me, to go, I won't understand. And when I get him to start communicating, this is telethought more, he's giving me like 900 million light years out and past the space-time continuum. And he was right. At that time, I didn't understand that. Our science didn't even call that multiverse yet. So this is the terms I'm getting from him. And it confused me. So he's right. I didn't understand. But then he says, just focus on the third and fourth planets outside of Pluto's. We have bases there that are jumping off places into your solar system because we have trouble dealing with the density of your solar system. And at that time, I'm thinking as a child, I'm just like in the 6th grade. I'm thinking, man, I question everything. Are you lying to me? because there's no planets outside of Pluto. And at that time there wasn't. I don't think they had discovered the moon out there yet. And he's communicating, yeah, you won't understand that either. Your science hasn't gotten there. And then forward that to like 2000, late 90s, they discovered these things called trans-Neptunian objects, which are actually
internet. I think is it's kind of like skipping around a little bit, and we can understand and hear most of what you say. But you were just saying some vocabulary then. If you could repeat what you just said, it's getting a little bit kind of sketchy. This happens every time, Barry. Every time we start talking about this stuff.
It's storming here is what it is. It's a bad storm here, and it might be interfering.
So it's not.
It might be actually a natural thing. Yeah, I don't think it's them trying to get us this time. What I was describing was it's a different Kuiper belt outside of Pluto, and the scientific name is trans-Neptunian objects. They discovered that probably around 2000 or so. And there's several of them out there that are larger than Pluto that makes them not want to say Pluto's a planet and whatever they're going through with that. But anyway, that winds up being true, that there's two planets out there like Eros and can't think of the other one, but that they're huge. And there could very well be bases on there, just like what he told me. You know what I mean? So it's things like that when it starts coming back that makes me really curious. So taking that and kind of tying that into the sun, all right, and where we're going with this. The thing about these trans-Neptunian objects I just described, they're in an odd orbit out there past Pluto, and there is some type of a large gravitational body attracting them. And a lot of the astronomers right now are saying that they think it is possibly a brown dwarf, which would not be visible to us visually in human spectrum, but it should be able to be detected, on like the infrared or something like that, ultraviolet. But nonetheless, it would attract those trans-Neptunian objects for the odd objects that they have out there, the gravitational perturbance that they have out there. Okay, so that means that our sun is actually a binary star.
Okay.
That would be its binary twin. Its binary twin would be a brown dwarf. So people, when you look that up, and this isn't me just saying that. There's astronomers saying that. That's where I'm catching that. But it makes a lot more sense in some ways. So when people say that possibly the sun, there's two suns, that's one way. Another way is something that's called scientifically a tropospheric refraction. That is like a visual problem in why people see two suns sometimes. That's a scientific deal. That's a visual illusion of some type. So that's
or like an artifact of the camera.
So that's two ways to address that. All right, now let's take that and kind of combine that with what is called the solar simulator or the sun simulator. And I'll tell you, that is something that people can look up. Right now, anybody can go to Google Patents and type in US 3247367A. That's number 3247367A. And it will bring up the patent for the solar sun simulator. And you can even see something like this. It's been around for a long time in terms of concept, because if you watch Star Trek, the original motion picture, the original from like 1977, there's at the beginning of that movie, there's a scene where the new Enterprise is sitting in the dock, and lighting up the Enterprise in this dock are these honeycomb looking lights with the black dot in the middle. Okay. The same thing that you're seeing a lot of people taking a picture of, the same thing that the simulator is. Anybody can look up that patent I just gave and look up the actual design of it. They give you the pictures of it and see exactly how it looks like that. So I think in reality, yeah, there's probably a couple of them out there, but they're also being used, I think, to like do something what Phil Schneider's talking about, lighting up underground bases, I believe, and artificial lighting for that. But, the thing is, how big of a project do they have out there going? Now, concerning our sun, and the reality of our sun and some of the changes that it's going through. One is, I think it's reacting to the psychogenic emotions coming off Earth right now that's in pain.
Okay.
So it's reacting to that. Earth is calling out to its parent star. The star has been acting very erratic for a while now. And, you know, if you're into studying the sun, you can go to the SOHO satellite website, the SOHO website. All right. And that thing monitors and takes a picture of the sun. What is it, like every 2 minutes? Always. And you can look up the archive of the images for years. I mean, you got to know how to get in there a little bit and look up actually the archives. It's kind of difficult. It's not real easy, but you can do it. And you can look at the sun for any time frame you want. And more than that, on that website, you can look at the sun in different nanospectrums, different colors, the green spectrum, the bound spectrum. If you get on YouTube and type in SOHO website, and people all the time put up footage up there where you'll see like these huge craft going into the sun, coming out of the sun. They're all around it. You know what I mean? And that's technically impossible, especially in some, like the green nanospectrum, you can really see them there. Okay, so that's something else. And I'll bring this up about the sun too, that I believe like some of the new concepts, that the dark spots we see, like a coronal hole or those big sunspots, which could also have caused that event they saw in Siberia also. But those are cold spots, prove that our sun is a stargate. Those are wormholes. Those are portals. And a lot of those ships are using them. So in my
remote viewing, I did see that. That when I went inside the sun, I saw that there were ships and other things that were coming from here. They enter and then they leave. It looks quite hollow to me on the inside of the sun. It looks hollow.
You know, and it's been, in fact, here's a good one. People can YouTube this one. SOHO website, and it's probably YouTube. SOHO website and UFO deflects solar flare. And you can see on there what's a huge spear, what it seems to be deflecting a solar flare that's probably Earth directed. So people say, no one's helping us. No one's helping us. Yeah, someone is helping us, because that would have knocked out grids here and made the whole remote viewing thing of Major Ed Dames come true, what he says about the bow shot and the kill shot. I watched that very closely because one, I thought it could have been a possibility they were trying to jump our timeline, or name two, it could have manifested. But certain things that he predicted did come true, like Eugene 99, which is that rusting, that virus that attacks wheat that came out of Africa. There's several things he called back then and in that video that did come true. But thank God the kill shot hasn't been one of them. And I don't think that's the timeline we're on. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of that. And I think why the sun, and the more we have people's consciousness that is becoming aware, they're becoming more aware of the planet symbiotically, the connection with the sun. They're realizing that the sun is not what it appears to be anyway. So the little technology and things that people are doing, I don't think that mankind has the ability to make quite the technology to completely blank everything out, make the total sun fake. But they do have satellites up there that are generating false light. We know that. And to a large degree. I mean, people are taking pictures of it. It's hard to deny that. It looks just like the solar simulator. That's a little too hard to make that a coincidence. You know what I mean? But keeping it in the realm of truth, though, I think we need to be worried, thinking about how the sun is a stargate and being used by so many advanced civilizations. Remember, when a civilization goes from type 0, which we are now, to type 1, they stop using fossil fuels and begin to use the parent star as the primary power source, solar power. And then when they go to type, then when they go into type 2, they go from using the parent star into using the vacuum of space, wormholes, black holes for energy itself. And that takes us into that whole thing that's called the quantum hologram that Ray Hernandez, everybody, Rudy Shields and everybody's talking about, which is really a good concept. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going too far left again, but
Oh no,
I want to make
we
sure
like it when
see-
Barry goes deep. And just on a lighter note, someone said I knew you'd be wearing a blue shirt. I did a video real quick, and I said this is a remote viewing lesson. Remote view the future and see what color shirt I was going to have on. And I had a big discussion with Barry about what kind of shirt to have on. I was going to have on, and some of you said something about like a red or maroon shirt. Almost did that one with the stripe. Almost wore that one. And so yeah, I've got a blue shirt on. Yay, you won! So
that's interesting. That's interesting because we did have a big discussion about that before.
We had a huge discussion about what to wear. We ended up kind of matching. I'm the ocean, and you're the land. That's kind of how your outfit turned out. so that song Black Hole Sun, yeah, that's an older song. Black Hole Sun. Black Hole Sun. Talk about the same thing. Also, when I remote viewed, when things were going on and I was kind of freaking out on that day, when I looked, I thought, oh, sun gaze. So I'm doing a little bit of sun gazing. The sun just came up. And then I look up because I'm in traffic. I look over to the side. And I see the after image. You know how you look at something light and you see a dark after image when you look over to the side? So I looked over to the side and the after image had 6 sides on it. And I freaked out. Like, what is going on? You know, it didn't matter how many videos I'd watched and all that. It just went out the window and I freaked out. Like, that is not really our sun in the sky. It has 6 sides. And I freaked out. So when I calmed down later on, I did some remote viewing and I've remote viewed this several times. And I don't understand how to explain. I just asked, what happened to our sun? What happened to it? And when I look at our sun, every time I remote view that, it appears that our sun is turning inside out. Like all of the inside of the sun is outside of the sun. And I don't know how better to describe that. I don't know the fancy words. Does that, because you understand transitions and suns and all of this. Does that make any sense to you, how our sun has turned inside out? And I'm sorry I don't have a better description or anything more elaborate than that. Does that even make sense?
Well, to me, I've not seen that, but to me, that's describing more the sun becoming a supernova.
Oh.
It starting to go through its death cycle. Is what you're describing.
Oh.
I think that's a few million years away, though. I think.
Okay.
But
well, when I remote viewed though, I said, "What happened now?" I mean, I was targeting now, and then I watched it, and it looked like, which when I was in the inside of the sun, to me it looked hollow, but when I was remote viewing it, it appeared that it was almost like a goo or a gel. I'm not saying it was a gel, but I'm just trying to describe what it looked like, and it looked like it just came out and it surrounded itself, and the outer shell or whatever was tiny in the middle. And all of the inside of the sun was on the outside. I didn't see an explosion or anything like that, but I just wanted to know what has happened to our sun. And that's what I see. And I see another sun that's here, that's influencing us, that I see that's blocked. I remote view a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it plasma fields, or it's a way of basically cloaking and a bunch of lenses in the sky. And then you go and you look on YouTube and people are able to now, and the ones that get in trouble and they get their channel shut down are the ones that teach people how to do this. That's what got me in trouble. I taught you guys how to see that the sun was not really real, and I could prove it with this. So at different angles and using an infrared filter, they've located a ton of lenses that are in the sky. Now the lenses, the way it's been described to me, these are not like, take out your contact lens and make it 10 miles wide. It's not anything like that. It's a toroidal field. And that's how they're able to maintain its position in the sky and keep it there. Do you know anything about that? About these toroidal fields that are being used up here in the sky to block out some things in the sky? I'm sorry, I'm throwing all these questions at you at one time.
No, that's all right. No, I can't say I do, and I can't say I prescribe to that. Now, as far as the toroidal fields that I am aware of, are the ones that do occur through like time cones and through actually wormholes and through portals like that. I am aware of those type of toroidal fields. Some of that is even used within the black cube a little bit too. If you look at Walter Russell's, Walter Russell wrote a book called Atomic Suicide. And in there, he starts going into a lot of the cone type of shit, the cone shape, like warp physics and also how that can involve time control and several other things. Also the cube, what he calls the hyperfractal cube. But that for me, I think is connected to like some of the black boxes I've seen on board these craft that they told me were inertial dampeners. But then again, that's getting away from the conspiracy about the black box that they're only to store souls.
Nice.
Anyway,
soul storage over here.
Yeah, I think just that what is, as consciousness is increasing, like what you just described, seeing these lenses, is that people are realizing that most of what we perceive is truly a holographic universe.
Absolutely, produced by toroidal fields.
And you're seeing the fields of energy behind that actually keep that stable. In terms of like that, we can start thinking if we really want to just have fun, and we talk about the miniaturization of civilizations. If we get these type 2 and type 3 civilizations, type 4, like we were just talking about, that advanced, they start going not just to the micro, not just to the nano, but into the pico technology, the pico scale, which for people that watch TV, like, or movies, the only time I've seen that represented is like in the new Transformers, when the Decepticons break into this like type of nano dust and then they reform in another location as themselves. That's similar. I think the pico is what actually allows the nano dust to grab the magnetic field. So I mean that's like a whole nother deal, but it's also smaller than the pico. Now,
is this technology you're talking about?
That's technology. I was talking about advanced civilizations. Like technology wise, if I'm going too weird, let's take something like the real physics.
The reason I ask is I just watched a scary movie, and it was about butterflies, and these butterflies were flying everywhere, and then they all came together into this scary monster that attacked and killed people. And I see something similar in other dimensions when I look at entities. There will be a bunch of globs or a bunch of little particles, and then they'll come together as one. So you're talking about more technology, what man is able to produce. Am I getting that right?
Well, no, man can't produce this yet. Like, to give you an example, what I was going to say is...
Well, I mean, in a higher civilization, that's what I mean.
Yes. Like, about implants. And like the implants that were removed by Roger Lear, he removed several of them. But when they analyze those, they have these things, carbon nanotubes in them, and carbon nanotubes that can be used to transmute nanites. But actually, they had what they found out, several miles of carbon nanotubes in these microscopic implants. Did you catch me there on that?
Really?
They're saying that yes, that there was actually miles of nanotube within that microscopic thing. So if you go down to the pico technology and you have a civilization that can do that with something microscopic like that, and then we start going into what we talk about Dyson spheres and megastructures in space, where they're building something like a Death Star around a sun and around the solar system.
Can you imagine the sun?
Can you imagine? And you go into the pico scale. Can you imagine how advanced these beings would be?
Oh my gosh!
They wouldn't be contacting us through extragalactic. They'd be contacting us like Martin Short, man. That movie Inner Space. It would be more like that.
I missed that one. That
was a bad joke. It was a bad joke on my part. Anyway,
that's probably why.
It was an 80s jokes. It was an 80s joke. Forget it. It is a movie called Inner Space.
I'm sorry. I had very strict parents in the 80s, so I didn't watch a lot of stuff everybody else did. I didn't get to watch Charlie's Angels.
It wasn't as pornography as that. It was with Dennis Quaid and Martin Short. When Martin wasn't doing a thing called SCTV. I'm a grown-up adult.
I want to go watch it.
I'm showing my age now. Anyway, but just the point being that I think that when we start dealing with the pico and advanced civilizations, we got to realize how a lot of them may be on the beyond microscopic level, and we're not aware of that. Like particle life forms, like what you were just describing, particle life forms.
Sorry, I have a teenager in there that's trying to make a lot of noise, and I'm having some problems. with this. Oh, Pat Bryant wrote, and I love Pat because Pat is kind of like one of those people that kind of disbelieves most things, and he keeps us on our toes. Like, I'll prove that, but he does it in a very, very nice way. He's not mean. People are like, you deleted me and you blocked me because I disagreed with you. No, Pat disagrees with everything I say, but he's nice about it, and it helps you to really think. So Pat proposed a question. Has anybody done colorimetric, I'm probably saying that wrong, measurement of our current sunlight to see if its color temperature has increased from its a nominal 5,600 degrees Kelvin to something bluer? Where's he's asking, where's the proof? Do you know of anything, Barry? Do you know of anything with anybody with some equipment who has tested the sun simulators to go, hey, something is different with this than the sun? Do you know of anything?
No, But then again, I still maintain that these are small devices and not the ones that conspiracy people have made. Like, it's just that it's our sun now. I don't agree with that. What I will say is concerning our real sun, and that there's been some speculation that it's not hot, actually, that the core of it is not hot like they're saying, and that's why these cold spots, these coronal holes are coming, and why there actually are wormholes in a way, but also that it's the wave phenomenon as the light is traveling here that starts generating the heat. I'm not saying that's correct, but I think it's an interesting theory by all means. So is the sun not as hot as we think, and is it the wave phenomenon that's heating us up and giving us life in that way? It's just food for thought, nothing else.
Pat wants to meet you so bad.
That's a good question.
Sure everybody wants to meet you, Barry.
Well, I like scientific questions. That's cool because it keeps us in the realm of reality.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And all this stuff is so weird. As a contactee, the stuff I've experienced is so weird. I don't need to lie about it. You know what I mean? It's so weird that just trying to put it into a legitimate perspective scientifically is a real challenge. But we got to start somewhere, because I think all of us that are into this now, whether we're scientists like him or a contactee like me, I think it's time we all come together and really take the next step. Like, okay, I've said my experiences. That's real cool, great. Oh yeah, but what happens next? I think we all need to start getting together and start really getting these technologies out and save our planet. And I mean, where I can see not just conferences that should be like that, where people like me and Pat can interact, but also institutions where the scientists come in and are getting equations. There's people that get equations for the technology I've seen. There's scientists that can give the physical ones. This needs to be a conjoint deal. I'm sorry, I'm going way away from what we were talking about.
Well, sorry. That's kind of what I hope you go on tangents. I love it when you go on tangents because we learn a whole lot more than we meant to learn at the very beginning.
Cool. I just came from about less than a week ago. I came from the first melanin dominant contactee conference that my friend Flurburn threw in Orlando, Florida, which means that
I'm subscribed.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool. By no means.
I don't have time to watch your videos, but I see the titles.
Yeah. Well, by no means did the attendees all have to be melanin dominant ethnic, but most of the presenters happen to be. We're all black except for Ray Hernandez. I think you've met him. Ray's actually Cuban, so he's still ethnic, and he presented the information for free, which was really good. It was just a nice conference, but no one's done anything like that. And the fact that, a lot of people like me, black contactees, we feel like we've been discluded from these conferences. You got a couple of people that run these conferences, like Contact in the Desert. You get the same people every year talking about the same stuff, pretty much. You know what I mean? Let's just kick it real. And if I was somebody and I was paying thousands of dollars to go to that, I would be a little bit upset, because it's just the same thing. It's cool, but real disclosure is all of us getting together, because you represent people that was not part of the secret space program. I'm not trying to discredit anyone that was. My experiences just were not like that. They weren't government related. It wasn't Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. They weren't there knocking me out with a pen and then I got cloned. I'm sorry, that just didn't happen to me. All right. Anyway, just yeah. Please, can I get cloned? Put me in that line, definitely. Oh, jeez, come on.
Cloning.
Maybe become Tuvok. Someday I'll be Tuvok. I'll be a little different. Everyone will know it.
Oh.
You know, it's a Star Trek joke you didn't get. Never mind, forget it. Anyway.
Oh,
forget it. Sorry.
Sorry. It was just my parents didn't like that show, so I had to like munch on it later in life to get information.
They didn't like no Captain Kirk, the William Shatner. That's a shame.
I love them. I love them. My parents were just so freaking strict. I mean, I grew up Baptist. You know, there's no space in the Bible, so we just don't talk about it. So, according to my parents. So this eclipse that's happening tomorrow, this to me, I have this huge feeling about this eclipse. Like, this is a really big deal. I don't usually come on YouTube or Patreon or whatever and talk about the eclipses. I kind of ignore them and just kind of ride the waves as they come. But this one is so different. And we remote viewed the other day on Patreon. And this, if you could look on Instagram, you can see basically what we were remote viewing. And to me, when we were looking at this, it looks like there is an actual event happening, but it's not an event that's going to be visible to us as far as this eclipse goes. It's going to be outside of where we can see for whatever reason. Either it's being shielded or it's in a place that we just can't see it. I'm not sure exactly what the magic is there. But I saw two pieces of technology, basically one representing the sun and one representing the moon, and the technology itself coming together to do the type of eclipse, or maybe if it's not the sun, then another object or something that passes in front. And I saw something very, very artificial. But then at the same time, even though we're seeing something that appears to be very artificial, I really think a lot of people are going to take pictures of this that already took pictures of the eclipse on August, like at the end of August when my daughter got run over. They were like, there was no moon. It was a hologram when we were videotaping it, and whatever their magic is that they know about taking pictures. They said there was no moon. During this, it was all a complete and total simulation. So all of those people are going to have their cameras out, and I'll be really curious to see whether they see what I'm seeing or not, that this is completely and totally fake. But I feel like there is an event that causes an energy shift when this happens. This is very significant. What do you feel? I mean, I know you said you talked to spirit, you said things and all. What are you feeling, or what do you know about this event tomorrow that I feel like it's a big freaking deal, and I'm already feeling it coming.
You know, I don't mean to be callous, but honestly, I've been hearing that since the 80s, ever since I was always paying attention. And every eclipse is something special. Every comet that passes by is something special, you know, and the truth is nothing really changes at all. I think that, I mean, I don't know. Everyone right now is expecting this great event. Floorburn says it's this purple rainbow. Other people are thinking, I mean, everyone's expecting some huge event, but we've always heard that there's going to be an event. If you think about it, it was 2012. Then nothing really happened, and we've got excuses for that now. Oh no, it was an energetic thing. Something else is going down. Okay,
no,
right?
And that's what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about the sky opening up or anything. It's like I see that there's going to be some extreme changes inside of me and the way that I view things. I feel that that's the thing that I'm saying.
That's possible. That's what Floorburn calls.
Yeah, I'm not talking about rainbows and angels.
Oh, okay.
Or anything.
Oh, okay.
No.
I thought it was going to be some cosmic event because.
Sorry.
I thought you were going way left on me there.
No, this one, and like I said, I just ride the wave with the other ones.
Gotta keep my eye on you, Kelly.
Yes, there's changes, and you know I'm evolving and moving forward. But there is something real significant about this that I feel that there's just going to be a shift in consciousness, or a big shift in me, and I can feel it happening, and I'm kind of prepared for it.
Now, you know, I think what that might be though is, in reality, jokes aside, is that kind of what a lot of people talk about the event in that way. Maybe I think that might be really we're for real.
Oh no, you're talking about the event. Oh no. I'm just talking about using the word event.
I've heard so many recently. Which event? I'm sorry, which one? And everyone tells
when
me
I say the event, It's like, let's go to the ball. We're going to go to the gala. That's an event. So when I use the word the event, I'm talking about anything that I'm talking about. I know there's a buzzword now, the great event or something like that through, and I don't even talk about that because I don't want to talk badly about people on YouTube. But I'm listening to like, just making it up as you go along. I really think that's what's happening with this thing that has a title on it. So every time I talk about an event, people think I'm talking about that, and I'm not. No. So when I say the event, that's what I mean. Like the event tomorrow. Like we're going to a basketball event. That's all I'm saying. That's the only reason I'm
okay. I'm sorry, it wasn't the event. I got you.
Oh God, no. I think there's a lot of bullshit involved in what. I'm sorry if I say something wrong, but I think it's a bunch of made up bullshit.
Oh man, I can't take it. Okay,
I was watching this. I don't want to name any names, but I'm watching and remote viewing, going, I don't see that. I don't. What are you talking about? You must be selling a new book. That's what I was thinking. Oh, you ran out of stuff to say.
I can't focus anywhere. That's enough to kill me. Oh God!
You can lose out your mouth. So your mouth is on a Patreon. Oh. I do let some secrets out on Patreon. Okay. So on Patreon, I will say the name of this person, and I have. So if you want to go find out who it is on Patreon.
Yeah, I
cry, Barry.
Well, I mean, it's like, people are really concerned, and the event, I'm still trying to discern exactly which one that is. But I think that in reality, what you're feeling though, I can barely stop talking to get this out. I barely stop laughing to get this out, so I got to tell you now. But I think that.
Make me laugh. I'm sorry.
You try to get serious, so that made me laugh again. Okay,
well, I mean, some of them are like,
I think
asteroids are going to fall from the sky, and 95% of the Earth is going to be destroyed in an instant.
That'll never happen.
And all this is going to happen. It's just the end of the world, or whatever. When I remote viewed it, if anything happens, it's going to be like that, and we're going to be in a much better place. It's not even going to hurt. So I'm just like, well, when it happens, it happens. Yay, I'll be dead. This world sucks sometimes.
Listen. That will never happen because the Ashtar Command and Fabio will save us. Anyway, listen.
Exactly. The ships are coming. The ships are coming. Let's put on a pot of beans.
Something I think what you are sensing, though, seriously, and what a lot of other people are, that they're calling something type of event, is the fact that I think maybe astronomically, truly, we're now entering the photon belt, and that the energies are intensifying here, and it's causing consciousness to go up. So not just are we going through a pole shift with the planet, but I think we're entering a different region of space that they said we were back in the 70s and 80s, but I think it's happening now. And maybe that was really what 2012 represented, that the Mayans were talking about, is a change of us going into this different space. So that's what I think ultimately, is happening. Because about that time is when you started contacting me saying you were having night experiences on board that lenticular craft. If you remember that, we've not been talking all that long at that point. It's been about when I first came out, about 6 months after I came out. So it's been about 4 years ago. Remember?
So yes, I was just reading. They're saying the event is bullshit. There's a bunch of people in the comments. that's how I started. There's elements of truth. I mean, it's just like even in religion, there's elements of truth, and then they're like, don't look over there. Oh, look over there instead. So yeah, misdirection, elements of truth. So buy my book. $1,200.
$1,200.
I don't know. Just, over $1 is too much for me for a book like that. This could be a paperweight. Let me make a profit door open with it. So sorry, Barry.
Man, y'all say that. Don't you know there's people selling their property and moving into underground installations because of all this? I mean,
I knew someone that stopped paying their taxes in like 2010 or something like that, or 2009, because the world is going to be over 2012. And then it was like,
you
oh,
know what reminds me of?
the government was really upset with them for not paying their taxes in 2013.
It reminds me of Y2K, more BS. That never happened either. Y2K. You remember that was? People were, my goodness, the stuff they were doing in '99. It was ridiculous.
I think what they're doing is going, okay, the change is going to be on the outside. Here's all this spectacular information, when really it's going to be on the inside, and people might miss it. Try to look up in the sky for something to happen, and they miss the changes that go on inside of themselves.
True. Very true.
That's the way it seems to me. So, the episode was an event. Oh, some people, they're just talking about the event over there. Fear trap. And when someone is agreeing with the photon belt. So this photon belt, where's this belt? Are we, around the waist of the galaxy?
Yeah, no, it's just a region of space where the photonic energy is elevated, and it's bombarding the planet in forms of cosmic radiation a lot more expedient than it was before. And in exchange, that's activating DNA, quanta, and raising consciousness. And and I think that that's good, because right now that is the attempt for humanity to be saved, and for the planet to be saved. I think the planet will be saved no matter what, but humanity.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt about that. It'll still be here. It's not going anywhere. It's part of the ride. Well, let's scare the humans.
So in that way, I think that's the photon belt, and because to me it seems like that, and having communicating with a lot more people now, I can say that consciousness is definitely raising up, and people that weren't planning on becoming awake are. Whether it's they woke up and they had some being standing by their bed, or they suddenly woke up one morning, they started just meditating or doing whatever. There's all sorts of different ways it's happening, and people are looking at. People like us aren't laughed at so much anymore now, because something is happening in terms of consciousness, awareness.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, holy crap. Man, now what, Barry?
It was like Saturday Night Live for a minute, man. You had me going. I felt like I lost my track of everything I was talking about.
I know. It's like the sun turned off. We have sun simulators. We have all kinds of crap. The Tunguska event, when I did some remote viewing, this is actually kind of like the opposite. This is below this picture. I remote viewed, and if you watch on Patreon, you'll see all this. But I saw something that this kind of surprised me a little bit. When I died, over here kind of to the right is the Crystal City, which when I talked to Martin Kinney about like the cosmic egg theory, he's researched, and I'm sure you've researched all of this as well. He researched all of the religions, people groups, and all of history to get this information. And so I asked him about the Crystal City, and he said anytime the Crystal City was mentioned, they referred to, and this is my words, there's about 15 other words that he spat out, the fancy words that basically the Garden of Eden or Eden, and you've got a ton of words to describe that. So if everything written down refers to the Garden of Eden, and you've got a lot of words to describe that, and that's, I saw it was almost like, don't look at the picture, I don't know how to draw, but this was like a gold, almost like part of a crystal city at the bottom, like it's been manufactured or it's been recreated in some way underground in Siberia. So do you know about technology from advanced civilizations that can create something like a crystal city that might be used? And if it is used here on planet Earth, what are they doing with it?
All right, check this out. So we can take this from certain different ways. Guy, I just recently did a video last week called Urim and Thummim, which was the breastplate that the priest was wearing in the Bible. But in reality, there's the book by J.J. Hurtak, The Keys of Enoch, that takes that and describes it as actually these 12 chambers underneath the earth that are actually the different jewels, like sapphire, ruby, the 12 colors, actually, 12 chambers.
Wow.
Right? And how they keep the actually harmonic resonance of the planet in sync. All right. Yeah, that's a video I did called Urim Thummim. It's only like 5 minutes long on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. But anyway, but I think that's partially what you're describing there. Okay, and that's one thing. So when things like I can't pronounce this word, the Lechuguela cave in Mexico was discovered with all the selenite crystals in it and stuff, and it started filling back up, and then people vandalized it. But I thought maybe that was one of these chambers was being discovered. But on the other side of this, okay, I had an experience out at that Ascetti Ranch. I've been out there twice. And 2 years ago, the first time I was out there, I tell you, I thought that physical encounters were kind of past me and something I was only going to get when I was younger. And so I went out there. I went out there and I observed this craft out there. And somebody else was there. And this thing descends on the side of the SETI is a place called the Sleeping Lady mountain range. And this thing goes down behind the mountain range at the tallest peak, which is called Flathead Mountain, I think. It goes down, it goes halfway down, and it comes back on. And I can see this craft through this mountain, okay? I can see through it to a point where I think, okay, I must be not seeing it right, and it came down in front of the mountain, and then it just flared back up, and that's why I'm seeing it like that. But then it comes back up, it goes back down, and comes back on, and does it again. And the guy standing next to me is hyperventilating. Albert was his name. He worked out there. And I was like, what are you seeing? And he tells me, he's like, first, I said, what are you seeing? That type of delusion is not shared. And he saw the same thing. He's seeing through this mountain. So what I did is, since I could only get so much telepathically in contact with the ship as I watched it, I had a regression done before I went out there the second time. I had so much stuff. I had so much stuff happen to me at that ranch, to where I stood out there for a few weeks after the conference, and I got this Sasquatch activity. It's like my brother told me about a month ago. He started messing with me. He goes, "Man, as much as stuff happened to you before you went out to that ranch, you didn't really believe in Sasquatch, did you?" I was like, "I don't know, kinda." But after that, yeah. So I did a regression to see what did I actually record on the superconscious level. And people need to be aware of that. The contact happens so quick. Like the conference I was just at, the lady sitting there, and I could tell she was a contactee. When I shook her hand earlier, she felt like a contactee. She's got this thing I called Artron energy on her. But when I asked her publicly, I said, "Have you seen a UFO?" She's like, "No, nothing like that. I'm not an experiencer," but at least she was. And then it takes a second later, she goes, "Yeah, one time I saw this light out there with my sister, watch this light bounce around, yada, yada." Everybody's kind of looking at her. "You just said you didn't see a UFO." See, it was like that. Boom. More than that, she lost about a minute while she's watching it. Wow. It only takes about a minute. If you're dealing with beings that are contacting you on the superconscious level and are capable of bending the space-time continuum, all bets are off. Contact happens when you're seeing one of these ships that may not be human-made, and you need to figure out who was on board there. Did you have another contact? So I did a regression to find out what did I see during the 15 minutes I witnessed this and dehydrated, basically. In that mountain, Sleeping Lady on the side of the SETI, on the side of Mount Adams.
Yes.
There's a crystal city in there. That's what's going on in there.
What?
And
what color? What color? Or is it multiple colors?
It's a beige color to me. To be exact with you, anybody, and you look this up too, write this down. Look up the Pumpkin Palace. The Pumpkin Palace cave formation. It's called the Pumpkin Palace. If you look that up and see how that is actually structured, how it's got these stalagmites that are formed in a way that's like unreal, this city looks a lot like that. And the beings
cave formation.
Pumpkin Palace. Yeah.
Pumpkin Palace cave formation.
Yeah, there's another thing called the volcano crystal. They're all, I think, in the same cave, I think. Anyway, but this city looked a lot like that. And these beings were communicating to me on the superconscious level that, for I guess people as dense as us, negative emotions can damage that city. So I think normal humans can't be there. I mean, that
Oh,
puts a whole
wow.
other thing on it. It's that type of vibration that negative emotions will shatter things. I don't. That's all I can tell
Wow.
you. What you're asking, I can't answer any more than
Mhm.
that.
It
But
makes
it,
sense. Yeah, that does make sense. I got a feeling and I couldn't put it into words, and your words are kind of describing some of the feelings that I had. So yeah, very interesting. And you go down and there's lots of, oh gosh, lots of underground
you know,
bases and all kinds of stuff in Siberia.
I'll tell you something else that comes through as you're talking, and it's weird. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt
Oh,
you. I'm sorry.
just give us your fancy words. Pouring
Fancy
out your
words.
intelligence.
Fancy words. Oh gosh. Anyway, okay. When you were describing that, what was coming
Mhm.
into me, what I'm picking up, is a reference for the viewers, a reference that can be found in the Uranta book, that big, thick Uranta book that's partially so skewed and it's horrible, but there's some good information in there. All right. Uh, there's where they talk about the second garden. They talk about a first Garden of Eden and they talk
Okay.
about a second Garden of Eden.
Okay.
The second Garden of Eden, they said, was a, a peninsula, that
Huh.
sank, and it
Okay.
had beings on there that were, of course, some partially non-corporeal also, and also another thing they called King, the planetary prince also, and a place that he had as well, a place that was the first non-corporeal beings that came down here, the planetary prince. But the secondary Eden, the second Eden, for some reason, when you're doing that, I'm picking that up. And a guy that kind of
Okay.
disappeared by the name of Robert Sarmast, he was trying to prove that that place actually existed and was what they were calling Atlantis also, this peninsula. And he was trying to get artifacts from a diving scuba deal, and I don't know what happened to him. As far as I know, he's disappeared or something. Anyway, just food for thought. I'm sorry, just throwing stuff out there, information for people to do their own research and try to grab on it. But as far as the Uranta book, check out what's called the second garden in there, the second Garden of
The
Eden.
second,
And
the second.
yeah, the second
How do you
Garden of
spell
Eden.
that? The Uranic. How do you spell that? That book.
Bullshit. No, I'm just kidding. it's got it's got it's got some good stuff in there. You just needs a lot of discernment. Uranta, Urantia, and technically that means Earth. So it's supposed to
Mhm.
be the Earth book. Yeah, but there's a lot more in there than that. And when it talks about, I don't want to piss people off that really think that's the Bible. So, um,
I piss
um,
people off all the time. It's okay.
I will say this: when it comes to what they talk about galactic organization on the celestial levels, on the angelic levels, that's bad. Okay, that's great. But
Okay.
when it comes to the racial book and the history of Earth racially, it's so skewed and white supremacist that it's sickening to anyone like me that reads it. And not just that, current genetic scientist testing totally blows what they're saying out of the water. You know what I mean? So it's just stuff like that that you need a lot of discernment when reading that book. And then like the second half of it is all about Yehoshua and telling his story, the story of that being. So that's what that is. So just so I don't sound like I'm just completely putting the Uranta book down. It's got good stuff in it if you use discernment.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Pretty much like every other book.
That one you got
There's
to
some
use a
truth
lot of
in
it.
everything. Oh,
A lot
I'm
of it.
not pick that one up quite yet.
It's interesting. It's an interesting book though. It's very informative.
Oh my goodness gracious! What's new going on with you besides the sun dimming and sun simulators and
With
events
me,
in
I
Siberia and
yeah,
the and tomorrow?
just that conference actually. That was kind of a big deal, and I was very honored to
Oh,
be a part of it. You know, a lot of people think that I have been around speaking a whole lot at all these UFO conferences. I haven't. That was my third one. I've been to SETI twice, and I went to this one,
mhm.
and that's it. That conference circuit is very tied up. There's only certain people in it you see every time, like I said earlier, and those things are so almost unaffordable for most people to get to. That if you're an experiencer like me or you, having experiences awake, it makes it very difficult. You know, I mean, at least the last conference I was at, she tried to make it affordable for people to get there. She tried, you
Yeah.
know, and that counts. So anyway, sorry, I was just really impressed by the vibration of the people that showed up. The people that came were so awake, aware, not just clairvoyant, but they had a high vibration. It was an honor to be around them and to get to meet people in person. It's so much better than sitting there in front of YouTube and talking about whatever. Real quick,
it's a little more fulfilling being around other people.
Real quick. I don't know why, but I'm supposed to bring this up, so I will.
Okay. Let's hear it.
What are you doing?
Where are you going, Kelly? You stood up. What's happening?
Well, don't forget, I'm still traumatized by the day you jumped up and ran off to go record white helicopters and just left me here talking to people. I'm still traumatized from that.
All right, no, we're okay. Everything's good outside. Just a fake sun up there. No big deal. They'll be okay.
I don't know if this is for you or if it's for one of the listeners right now, but somebody is supposed to pay attention to fast radio bursts. I did a video over that a couple weeks ago too. Fast radio bursts. Quickly, what they are these a flare, a power source that are extragalactic, outside of our galaxy, but they appear to be emitting like 1,000 times the power output of our sun. But whatever they are,
I heard something about that the other day, but I didn't understand it fully. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, they're making no flare. They're not making a flare, so they can't actually see them. They're trying to say, oh, it might be a contained pulsar and rotating pulsar and things that don't make sense. But if you listen to what some of the people are saying really high up, is astronomy wise, they're saying that it could possibly evidence of galactic trade routes. And when saying that, if you're dealing with the type 3 civilizations we were talking about with the Dyson sphere, a mega structure around their star, and they go like into hyperspace and they want to actually locate, transfer that, that's what they could be using. It's something similar to that that's creating these fast radio bursts. It's just a theory, but it's a good one, and it's worth looking at. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an unknown extragalactic phenomenon worth checking out. Fast radio bursts. I did a video on it, but it's only like 5 minutes long, but it'll steer you where you need to go to check it out for your own.
Nice, thank you. So, and that was on YouTube or Patreon?
On YouTube, on YouTube.
On YouTube,
I've got, yeah, YouTube. Those are all, I put up probably, gosh, about 10 videos or more on YouTube about the last 2 months. And when I started Patreon, because I've done about 12 on Patreon, but the ones on Patreon are harder to make because they're much longer. They're more in depth. And I also like to interact with the people. The people comment there. I try to type back and interact with people and exchange information. That's really why I came forward. And on YouTube, it's hard because you spend so much time deleting stuff. It's like, man, yeah, you don't hardly get to answer the people that are legit. There's a bunch of legit people on YouTube, but they get drowned out by those trolls. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. I just had to do some pausing of someone in the comments just allows other people to talk. So you guys, if you have any questions, we'll do kind of like a little Q&A if you got a little time. A little Q&A and see what you want to know from the Barry. From the Barry.
I feel like I've talked too much during this show already.
I got you on here to talk. This is what you're supposed to do. Yeah, they hear me all the time with all my little third grade words. You know, we need a little, you know, if I have 5 degrees.
You tripped out on vocabulary today.
Yeah, I'm using you for your vocabulary, Barry.
Well, I'd say that's just like the internet. That could be, you know, basically a dog and pony show. And when people meet me in person, they may be disappointed because I'm not walking around like Jack Horkheimer going, "Keep looking up, Pleiadians, Arcturians." I'm just kind of a normal cat, you know.
Like I said, let me know when the ships are coming. I'll put on a pot of beans for everybody. Oh, let's
always
see.
agree with her brother.
Here we go. Talking about the fast radio bursts, and is it in pop music? They've got an obsession with music. I know that there's like gods and demons and stuff like that in music. But is that at all what you're talking about, or is this person misunderstanding?
Yeah, no. This is a extragalactic astronomical phenomenon. It's called fast radio bursts, and what it is these bursts of energy that are about equivalent of about 1,000 times the output of our sun. But they don't know where they're coming from. They're not creating any flare. So there's no light with them, and they don't know what they are. So it's just an astronomical unknown event that's worth looking up, and it's not connected to our radio, like AM, FM here.
Okay. Someone wants to know where ECETI is.
It's in Trout Lake.
More than one.
There is Trout Lake. It's in Trout Lake, Washington, run by James Gillian. So it's about 2.5 hours outside of Portland in Oregon when you go across the Washington line there. And it sits right on the edge of Mount Adams. And there is another one that Peter Maxwell Slattery, who you know, he just came from there actually.
Okay.
He started one in Australia that's ECETI Australia. You can find that on YouTube and find his information on there and everything. So he tried to start one over there. So that's cool. But as far as the ECETIs, are the only two I know of.
Okay. What about a regression therapist? Do you recommend who you went to do a regression? Someone was asking, where do I even start looking for someone to help me with that?
First thing you can go, when you get online, just make sure you look up like accredited hypnotists in your area, people that have like from a real institution, all right? Not just someone that went through a couple of certification classes and call themselves hypnotists. It's kind of hard because hypnotherapy isn't as regulated as a lot of the other therapeutic fields.
Okay.
So the main thing is what I would advise for anyone: find someone who's credentialed in your area, but before any monetary exchange is done, go to their office, meet them personally a couple of times, okay? Talk to them a few times and build a rapport to make sure you like their methodology and that they're going to be able to induce you into deep trance, okay? Like for me, I rarely mention this, but I've got like 2 certifications in hypnosis in 2 different techniques, and I don't use them on other people. I've never been comfortable hypnotizing other people, but I was doing it to hypnotize myself so I could recover some of these missing memories. And guess what? All that and all the deep meditation through pranayama, it still didn't work. I was just getting pieces. I still couldn't get the whole deal. I had to go sit down and be professionally regressed by somebody else. And it was hard for me because for most of my life, I was Mr. Conscious Experiencer, because I could remember a lot of stuff that happened to me in this missing time. I could see technology, I could see faces of some of these beings, and I could remember some of the information that they're downloading me with. But then there's all this missing time. It wasn't nearly enough. It's like a good 15 minutes worth, and I'm missing 4 hours each episode. And the only way I could get that was to sit down and have somebody else take me down to the theta level, almost to delta, because experiences happen to my consciousness on those levels, physical or not. And that makes the retention of the memory of the event horizon itself difficult. Hope that makes sense.
It does. What about Mary Rodwell? Are you familiar with her? I had her on my show at one time, and I know that she does the regressions.
Yeah, I've interacted with her a couple of times through free, but also I did Peter Maxwell Slattery's 100th episode. I did with him and her. She was on there, so I got to talk to her there. She's actually how Peter and I met. When I had went through my 3rd professional regression, I was having an issue with the fact that during this, some of the beings were talking through me to the hypnotist, and that tripped me out. And Peter had something similar happen that caused him to post his first regression online. And I was like the 3rd person to see it. And we started communicating like through Twitter of all things. I do my other business on Twitter, but part of it. But anyway, so very interesting. You know what I mean? And who regressed him was Mary Rodwell. So,
Okay.
yeah, she's got some experience, definitely.
Yeah, but she's in like, Australia, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them will do. A lot of people are doing Skype hypnosis,
Really?
and
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
yeah, and I guess that works for some people. Now, I'm not downing that, but for me, that will never get me in trance. I know too much about hypnosis. I'm too self-aware. It's not going to work on Skype for me. Now, when I sit down in a chair with my hypnotist, it's different. When I'm in that office, it's different. She can get me there, but like, for example, she doesn't do rapid inductions like the Elman. She does a longer induction. It takes her often, when she did mine, like 30 minutes to get me in trance. So that's how hard I am to get in trance, but she got me there, but it take that long sometimes. So I'd ask anybody to be patient and know who your regressionist is, get their credentials, and also find out what you want to know. Target your own superconscious. Like for me, it was these specific times I was missing time, which is over 18 hours of time on 4 different experiences. So I wanted to know information about that. You know what I mean? And stuff that might be
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
You do past life regressions, all sorts of stuff. And a lot of that will just come up.
Nice.
Thanks for asking that, because there is a disconnect. There's a disconnect put on awake people right now. Don't get, whatever happens, don't get hypnotic regression. They'll implant you. They'll do this and that. You can have your stuff recorded. You can target what you want. It's not even like that, and you're not like you're completely out of it when you get hypnotized anyway. But I love that you asked that, because it's important for people to go a step forward. Don't be like me. I was resistant to it, and I was cheating myself out of knowing over 50% of the information I've been communicated and seen. You know what I mean? So don't be like me. don't fall for the disconnect. That's to stop people. Whoever told you that, no one has the right to tell you, don't take hypnosis, because you shouldn't experiment with your own consciousness. You shouldn't explore your own consciousness. But listen to me, and then go listen to the people over here. You'll be fine. Conform.
Exactly. Don't trust yourself. Trust me. So what is this light code activation? Do you know anything about that? Light code activation.
Which kind?
I don't know. So they're getting it during their sleep, and I don't even understand the concept. I didn't know if you did.
Yeah. What it is it's coming in as codes. Some people are getting stigmatas also. Some people are getting it as quote unquote light language. But what it is
like Solrita.
Yes. She's one of the few that does that I think it's really good. I don't want to go.
She does a good job.
I just don't speak it, so I don't know a lot about it. I'm not authority on it, but I'd say soul is probably the best I've heard. But as far as these codes are coming in, and what it's doing is like, go to my channel and check out a video called God, it keeps coming up. The bio bed, and what that is, the UFO and the bio bed. And what that is, experience I had, that I've got these cats from Andromeda over me holding these little wands with these fiber optic stuff on it. And what they told me they were doing was awakening the light quanta of my DNA, because some things I didn't believe in myself. So that is what they're asking right there. It's awakening different, what they call junk DNA is being awakening by the light that's going on. Oddly enough, that connects into what we just talked about, the Urim and Thummim, those crystal chambers underneath the earth. There's another thing, if you go to the book of Enoch, they also talk about what's called the Urim circuitry. And what that is
it like URIM? Is that
URIM and Thummim. THUMMIM.
MMIM. Okay.
Yeah. And that breastplate will come up first, but if you get through that and start looking deeper, you'll find these chambers they talk about. But anyway, the keys of Enoch, they talk about Urim circuitry. And Urim circuitry is also the crystals that are in our pineal gland, in our blood, and also in the galactic ley lines. Yeah, Urim circuitry. Some of the beings I presented, like the throne beings I've showed before, they have the crystal in their middle in their chest. I think they're a part of that Urim circuitry. I think that's what they're showing that represents soul groups. Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry I don't have my pictures. They're out of my car.
It's really interesting you're talking about this because, okay, over here we discussed this and you said there's 12 of them. And it didn't look like they were all in one place. I think they're kind of scattered because I only saw one. So, and I want to go look for the other ones. When I go to the Crystal City, and I thought this was really interesting because you're starting to talk about things that I see in the Crystal City. When I didn't know I hadn't died, I didn't know what I was doing. Oh no, I think I did die at that point. But I didn't know, I hadn't done ayahuasca. I didn't know who I was or whatever. So I went there and there was a council of 12 that I dealt with. And they had these thrones or whatever that went up really, really far and really high. And they tasked me, they taught me to do stuff and sent me on assignments. And then I kind of graduated. When I graduated, I created my own Crystal City. It sits there empty. I don't know what to do with it now. But there were 12 of them. And you said something about there were 12 of these. If this is what you're talking about, 12 of these crystals that harmonize or create things here on this planet. Is there a correlation between this 12? Because in the Bible, they talk about 12, you see a dozen eggs. You see a group of 12 everywhere. Is it a coincidence that there's like a council of 12 beings that might be, or is it the things that have like the crystals inside of them? I know that made no sense. That made no sense.
No, I actually did. You know what? I've heard about a council of 12 as far as non-corporeal beings. Excuse me. And there's also the council. Okay. Yeah, non-physicals, you know. But
no, these were my words. I mean, I didn't look up Council of 12. I named them the Council of 12. And someone else might have also, but that was just my word to describe them.
There is such a thing as the Council of 12.
Yay! I'm not the only one.
You weren't too far off there. I mean, and there's also the Council of 9. Okay.
Council of 9, Council of 12. Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to do something here. So I want
9 and 12. Because you got the 12 disciples, you got 12 months in the year. The 12 is just reoccurring everywhere. And then you're saying 12 crystals. Mm-hmm. And then there was a council of 12. I'm seeing a repeat of it. There was one in the council of 12. There was one that was different, though. And my best guess, if there is any gender out there, they did look male and female, and they had beautiful clothing on. But there was one, I think it was male, who was slightly different, or I don't want to say on a higher level, although they appeared a certain way. When they worked with me at one point, there was one that took on a different shape or shape shifted and took on a different form when they were working with me, because I was so frustrated before ayahuasca. I didn't know who I was. Who am I? What is going on? And they helped with that. So
sorry, I'm trying to share a picture that you can, so you can see it, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
12. Here we go. Someone's putting 12 dimensions. 12 flames of creation held in a core of planets, all a different color. I'm just reading what everybody's writing. The 12 are in the emerald tablets of Thoth. See, these numbers are just reoccurring.
Sorry, I wasn't able to get that come up. They're just throne. I don't have my pictures of them. They're just these throne beings. And when you mention these beings being on thrones, were these chairs or were these actually like light columns? Were they light columns?
They look like light. I mean, it's a crystal city, so everything's made of energy. And it reminded me of I guess, light taking the form of type of crystals in the thrones. And they would go all the way up into, I don't know, it's farther than a second or third or fourth story. You know, they went really far up. Not really any ceilings that was around, but I would describe them more as light. And it wasn't like in the movies. I look at the movies and they've got these very ornate, you know, three-dimensional looking things. This did not look three-dimensional. So light probably would be the best way to describe it.
Okay. Yeah, Yeah, that's more like some of these stone beings that I've dealt with. They were on these columns of light, and that takes us into what's called throne energies, which is high energy that deals with almost the same level of as like angels, like a different type of angelic. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Throne beings and throne energies. I'm trying to think what video on my channel. It's called Soul Groups. Soul Group Connection.
Yeah, that's where they were. Yeah, in these crystal cities. When I would go there, I didn't go and look, but I saw the other soul groups. That might be a good way to describe them. But I knew my family was there. And and then I made my own crystal city. So it's a place where they teach you, where you just continue to evolve and create and all that. So and they teach you to the point where I graduated, if you will. They gave me a crown. Even I got a crown that really, it helped me out. And then I created the crystal city.
Now, what's interesting, what the Tibetan Book of the Dead calls the bardo, the levels you go to after the astral levels you go to after death. Okay. Or if you read Daniel Brinkley's movie or book, Saved by the Light, he describes this crystal city. In fact, the Uranta book calls them the mansion worlds. Worlds, yes, and it describes the several levels you go to after death, the first ones. But supposedly the first one you go to, the first world, is there's these crystal palaces. And supposedly that's where a lot of like the Spanish Roman cathedrals maybe look like that inside. It's very interesting.
I'm trying I don't see like a glossary or anything in the back of this. I was just trying to find that real quick. This is the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
The Bardo Thodol, the Bardo is the different levels of the astral levels we go to after death. So basically it's just when they're describing that, I believe they describe maybe a palace in one of them. I know they do in the Uranta book, and I know also Daniel Brinkley does. He describes going to this palace after he died. He said that he was floating out in the abyss, and then these light beings came and got him and took him to this crystalline palace. And he describes it quite detailed, just like you did. So maybe you're seeing one of these quote unquote mansion worlds. They say in the Christian Bible when Yeshua said, "In my Father's house there are many mansions," he was referring to the mansion worlds. These different levels that you go. The Bardo. The Bardo.
I'll read it. I've had this book for years. I have not read it yet, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, because this is just my personality. I want to do some more roaming around and discovering things on my own before I go and see what someone else says about it. That's just me and the way I am. I don't want to read something like this and then go out and look and not know whether I'm making this up or not, whether I'm seeing what's really there or not. So I do the opposite of probably what everybody else does, is I go and I look and I spend a lot of time in a place I don't understand, but I'm okay with that. And then I go research after that to confirm what I've seen.
I had done tons of research on all near-death experiences. I also was practicing spiritual techniques that were designed to store enough personal energy and personal power so that you can stay conscious during the death process. All right. Really? And guess what? Guess what? All that, when the death force hit me, it meant shit. Excuse my language. It wasn't nearly as valid. It wasn't nearly as valid as it was supposed to be, because nonetheless, a lot of unconsciousness still touched me. And I still believe what I've always said is that the death process itself wants our life memories. That's what it comes for, I think. And that's why a lot of us incarnate into the next body or back here without soul life memories. Something about the death process itself wants our soul life memories. Whether people want to say that's technology or whatever, yada, 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 go from wherever you want with that. But something about that process wants that.
I was very awake. No, I'm not talking about my body, but I was very awake and aware during this death process of being pulled towards the light and all. I've also wanted to know your opinion on this. And I don't know how to put this into words. I've heard other people talk about it and talk about this reincarnation cycle, that we're no longer reincarnating anymore. And on one level, not on all levels, but on one level that makes sense to what I'm sensing now. Like this reincarnation is not necessary. And I think you can still be reincarnated. But at this point, there's kind of an allowing for something different now. Because I think it has something to do with this high level of consciousness and a part of a transition to where now when you die, I feel like you have a choice. When I go back, I'm not going to go in the tunnel. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to kind of hang out until I'm fully awake and then decide what to do. And then from what I've heard from other people, this is a great map on how to get out and not be reincarnated and not go to those places that we automatically go to. So it's not 100%. There's no more reincarnation in this thing that we're doing, but it's kind of almost like they're no longer the forced way of doing things. And you can look an exit sign. I'll go out this door instead. That's possible now. Do you know anything about that? Have you heard other people talk? Do you have your own experiences with that? How do you feel?
Yeah. I've heard about it, and I think that it could be possibly people placating themselves, because right now that they don't know that we can escape the cycle of reincarnation all of a sudden. Okay. It sounds good, but we don't know that. And right now, I would say that because the preponderance of evidence is showing something different. Like, give example, that show Ghost Inside My Child, where you have all these young children that are remembering past lives here on Earth just recently. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like the one little girl said that she died in 9/11. You know what I mean? She's describing it. The other one's saying that, hey, I was in the Titanic. But I mean, that show went on for a season or two, but those kids are really young. So has it been since these kids were born in the last 5 years?
Since 9/11. This is a very, very recent thing that and I'm not saying it happened exactly when I noticed it, but I've only been noticing it the past year or two, that things are different now.
And I was told that, and then again in the 80s, I heard that again, that people weren't incarnating here anymore, and that was done. So it's just these same things. Just, I don't know. I'm very, not just skeptical, but I mean, I just keep hearing the same stuff again and again, and it doesn't happen. Nothing happens.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical as well.
And it's totally unproven. That doesn't mean it's not real, but I'm at a point now where I've been through enough paranormal and metaphysical things that I can't just accept what people are telling me, because I promise you, when I walk through, quote unquote, the valley of the shadow of death, with nobody helping me, I mean, except for maybe the beings on the other side were, but when I encountered these angels, and then I encountered a couple of loved ones that were deceased, one that we had just buried. Okay. And a lot of people say, oh, they were demons. So
I know.
First of
all,
that's
why I hate vocabulary. I'm trying to steer away from vocabulary.
Those are people that lack discernment. Maybe they can't tell the difference between the light of the sun, the life, warmth, love-giving light of the sun, and the cold light of the moon. They're both bright, but they're not the same. So if you can't tell the difference between living light and cold light, that's on you. You need to work on your discernment. I can't.
Yeah.
And I will say this, my loved ones that I come in contact with, guess what? It felt like them. It didn't feel like somebody else. The same loving thing, because that love goes to the other side. So at a certain point, we have to break some of these molds of negativity, because a lot of times, like even in the contact phenomenon, I'll say this real quick, all right? Like when we talk about the quantum hologram, let's take a wormhole, all right? We've got a wormhole. And when something enters the wormhole, like you throw your purse in there, right? When the purse goes in there, it creates there is a perfect copy on the aperture. Okay. And then your purse goes on through. A perfect copy of it, because there's a thing in there they call the Mako that's holding the information, all right? So when you have civilizations that are growing these engines and these ships around wormholes, okay, they're part of the power source, so they're generating this wormhole type of energy. They're in there all the time. They're going through these quantum holograms quite a bit. Guess what? You have a Type 4 civilization that no longer exists. They probably have destroyed themselves or come to the end, but they can still exist in that consciously, in that quantum hologram, in that perfect copy. And more than that, a prime intelligence can interact with you and I through the divine field in our brain through that quantum hologram.
Okay.
So that's supporting how much everything around us is holograms.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense, I'm trying to break this down.
But it doesn't explain where all the socks go in the laundry. You know, where did that extra sock go? Very explain now. You know where the socks go in the dryer.
Those are micro wormholes that open up around this planet a lot. They're miniature. And then you've also got just basic apporting by spirits that do that a lot. They'll grab your stuff quick and switch it to the other room, and you don't know it. You know, your keys is a good example.
I do know it. I do know it because I've been messed with before. And I was like, where's my? Then you go in the other room, you look, and you come right back, and there it is. Or it might be an inch over from where it was before in a different place. Barry, I hate to say goodbye. I've got that 30-day manifestation challenge. I'm going to go. I'm going to go send the link for that. I've enjoyed having you on here. We're going to have to do this again. I've got about 4 more weeks for my 30-day challenge. Yeah.
Before you leave, that thing behind you, I don't know if that's your cosmic egg or what, but you know, it very much looks like a brain and a brain stem and the hypothalamus, which you got 3D.
Are you talking about this?
Yes.
I remote viewed that, and I was going to leave it up until I figured out what it was. I don't 100% understand what it is, so I left it.
Look at the brain stem and the brain.
Let me go ahead and click on that so I can see.
And the hypothalamus. That's what that looks like to me.
Interesting.
It even looks like a brain, the top of it, don't you think?
Huh.
And that the way you've got the little circle in there that says 3D, the hypothalamus sits about like that in our brain. That's very interesting. Which is where the third eye is also.
That is interesting. And this is also how I saw, like, get rid of that. Oh, I need to take that off. So this is also how I saw the Sasquatch disappearing. This is the concept, not exactly how it's done, but the concept is how they go into the fourth dimension. They're still like in their 3D form, and they wrap themselves like the fourth dimension around them. I know it's an unsophisticated way of saying what happened, but I was explaining that too. Like 3D going into it, but yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know about.
I think it's showing you the way they go invisible. That it starts in the mind is what it's showing you, because they can use they've got hair that's got they can actually change the color of the hair, and they've got chlorophyll, something in their blood, so it gives them the ability to bend light. And I think they can also use infrasound and start exciting water vapor around them that can also help with invisibility. I think they got a lot of skill.
I've done the invisible thing before. I've done it in the grocery store. I've done it in my own house. I've been standing right in the middle of the living room and made myself invisible to my family. My daughter just walks through, and my husband are like, "Where'd Mom go?" So I've done that a few times. I teach on Patreon. So hey guys, go see Barry on Patreon. Is it Barry Littleton on Patreon? Is that how they find you?
Yeah, Barry Littleton on Patreon.
Okay, awesome.
No nicknames yet, so just play.
No nicknames. Very little.
Not cool enough yet.
Oh, you're so cool. You are cool. You don't need a nickname. You're so cool.
By 2022, I will be cool though.
The great BL. So thank you guys for joining us and your wonderful questions and your attention. They have been really good in the comments. So thank you guys for being so respectful in the comments and chatting with each other. I just had to get rid of one person, and that was it. And that was all I saw. So thank you guys so much, and thank you, Barry, for being on here. And I guess let's do this again. Anytime another event comes up, let's do this again and see if we can educate ourselves on what's going on. So
it's good to see you again. Thank you.
Oh, you too. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.
Thank you.